This is Jason Thomas. Today I am going to talk about the Ives Approach. This is named after the American composer Charles Ives, who is one of the most performed American composers in history, born 1874 and died 1954. And the reason that the term the Ives Approach is used to describe many individuals in the arts who have a day job of sorts is that is exactly what he did. He owned an insurance agency and did not receive compensation from activity in the arts early in life to any material degree relative to his professional activities in the insurance industry, despite doing his artistic work at a very high level. So this usually means that one wishes to do something that would not have a commercial viability. You usually would not say that someone is taking the Ives approach who is attempting traditional commercial viability and just hasn't had it yet, or is doing something else until that occurs. One usually implies that someone has made a very specific decision to work in an external field for the maximum amount of flexibility in what it is that they wish to do. And the reason that I've decided to address this topic is because in a previous video on the music of James Tenney, it came up. And by the way, you should all listen to that video and listen to Jim's music if you have not done so yet. But there was a contrast that occurred in the video between something that Morton Subotnick had said to me regarding potential career opportunities later on. And he said something in the nature of just go sell stocks. And that was said in the context of not recommending doing something teaching related or related to the act of composition. Whereas Jim had said in an interview elsewhere that I described in that same video that one has to do what you want to do and then find out how to make the money work later on, because otherwise you're not going to get done what you wish to do in your artistic activity. I'm paraphrasing there. But you can see two different approaches, and neither one are right or wrong or an absolute. If it were a simple question, there'd be no reason to make this video, and everyone would make the same decision. But that obviously isn't the case. So if you've thought to yourself, is something similar to an Ives approach a direction that you would like to take in whatever it is that you do? The first question that you would probably ask is, compared to what? That's the old economist question that determines the positivity or negativity of a lot of things, not just some absolute standard. So what would you do if not that? And the first option would be trying to make income from your artistic activity. Now, my personal experience at a very young age, at 20, is I happened to come across a job with a well-known film composer at the time, and that would not be music that is consistent with what I wanted to do, but I had an idea of maybe getting a technical role, and then maybe occasionally, although less frequently, getting some work in that area that would perhaps be consistent with my own aesthetic viewpoints. I realized very quickly the degree to which that is highly unlikely, or was highly unlikely, probably still is, and decided not to pursue that area from the standpoint of a technician or a composer. And this was working with an Oscar winner and seeing things at the very highest level of that industry. And some of the reasons that I came to that conclusion are that, oddly enough, the lifestyle, those people are working an incredibly large amount of the day leading up to the completion of projects. People want what they want quickly, and they want it cheap, or at least they do now. When I got in, it was in the tail end of before the technological resources were as readily available as now. But in any case, there are some positives and negatives to trying to earn income from your artistic activity. And I made the decision personally that that was not something that I wanted to do at that point in time. So another option that many people pursue, semi-related job. Let's say that that's something in whatever, arts administration, or maybe you consider yourself a composer, but you get a job as a performer, or whatever it is, or you're a technician, perhaps a music editor or copyist or something in the film music field. You've decided not to compose. I'm just making up random examples. You're doing something semi-related. I generally believe that is, this is just my personal opinion, the worst of the options. If you're going to get a job that isn't what you want to do, get a job that isn't what you want to do that has some of the advantages of that. But again, that's just my opinion. You could say that teaching is in that category, or maybe you could consider it its own category. That has worked for a lot of people in the arts, including quite a few composers. You could probably say that that is the primary source of income for many composers since the Second World War to the present. Although I'm not entirely convinced that the outcome from making that decision has been a positive musical one. Again, that's my own opinion creeping in, but you can make that decision on your own. The next one would be family or spousal support. A lot of people have that opportunity. This is probably not something that you're going to have the option to choose or not. It's either there or it isn't. So that was not my situation. It probably is not the case for most of you listening. But I just bring up those things in a nutshell to just say, well, when you're looking at something and you're asking yourself if you want to do it, don't ask yourself, is this thing good or bad? Ask yourself, how does this thing compare to actual real-world options that exist? And that's probably the case, not just for a career decision, but for anything else. It helps to make comparisons to actual things that exist in the world. So you might ask, well, what have I done? Since I briefly worked in the film music industry and then decided to go back at one point and to school, that is. That was where I had studied with Subotnick and Tenney. I decided pretty early on in those discussions with them that I would enjoy my studies and get something for my own future activities, but I would probably not be intending to pursue a teaching role. I did have a small number of opportunities to attend doctoral programs. I did not do so. So I made that decision for a number of reasons. For me, that involved the desire to stay in the Los Angeles area, which anyone that goes into that field doesn't really get to pick their location, no matter how successful they are. So that option became kind of dead on arrival for me. Other people may have different priorities. I decided to go into the financial services industry, including the investment field, and later insurance and real estate, to varying degrees and at different points in time. I personally have gravitated to roles that are outcome-based rather than time-based. And what I mean by that is that the compensation has been based on a particular outcome rather than how much of my time that I'm selling, because I place a priority on being able to do what I actually wish to do, and the more time that is available to that, the better. So you may have different priorities depending on a secondary field that you would actually like to enter and would not necessarily mind spending a larger amount of time in that area. So let's look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of the Ives approach in general. So the advantages are you have more control over your location and income, potentially making more of it, although that can easily vary depending on what it is that you choose to do. You do not need to accept projects outside of your interest in your field of artistic endeavor. That is very important to me anyway. If I don't want to do something, I don't really want to have to do it. Now, does this mean that I think that I'm better than other people in the arts, or doing something that is below me is not something that I want to do? Not at all. I'm not saying that you have to have some elitist attitude. I'll go, if one of my friends calls me up that's going to be playing a blues gig at a bar and wants me to come sit in, of course I'll do that, and I don't have to, even though that's not really related to what I do as a composer, I'll have a good time and explore something that isn't really my primary focus. But what I'm referring to is things that might have a level of tedium that take away from your ability to enjoy the work that you are attempting to create. I'm thinking, for example, of a film project that I turned down that I could tell from the beginning was just going to be a hassle. The person that I was going to work with was not somebody that I wanted to work with. It was not going to be an enjoyable project, and it wasn't going to let me do anything that I really had an interest in doing, and it really wasn't going to be that lucrative. So that's a no in my book. You might not have that much flexibility if you've made the decision to try to make your income from the projects related to your field in the arts. Another thing is that music, or whatever it is that you do, becomes a positive aspect of your life when it happens. There's a tendency when people are young in the arts to try to do things that are of a shock value nature, or things that have kind of a negative tendency towards them, and you just will find that you don't have time for that. You're not around some circle that you're that is going to incentivize that anyway, to the extent that others are that are more closely active in the arts field that they're participating in. So when you do find the time to make it happen, it's going to be a source of positivity and something that you're going to treat as such, which I find to be one of the huge advantages. Now, the other thing is that variety can be good if it's something you enjoy. I mean, we can say variety is the spice of life. Some spices are better than others. Ives, for example, thought that what he was doing in insurance was something of a moral nature. I mean, this was the beginning, when he was doing it, of the mass purchase at the retail level of insurance policies, particularly life insurance policies, and he thought that that was something that was good for society. So if you find something that you enjoy, or that you think has some societal benefit that you would like to engage in, then that can be a positive decision on that side of things. Some people do not necessarily want to be engaged in one activity, no matter what it is, for the majority or exclusivity of their time. So you'll know if that's what you want or not. The disadvantages are not insignificant. Time is difficult to find. I'm going to probably say that is the case in any context, but particularly with this one. And it's easy to slip away. It's not just difficult to find it at the momentary level. It can go by a lot quicker than you're expecting. And when I was having that conversation with Mort and Jim, I was 20-something, 23, 24, whatever, and I'm no longer that. and it doesn't seem that at all. So I think most people have a similar experience regarding the potential for time to pass without as much activity in an artistic discipline, or time with family, or whatever else that they hope to prioritize. So that's definitely a concern. Some people or some opportunities will probably not be available because you will be viewed as an outsider or someone that is not engaged in your field on a full-time basis. And this will vary depending on what it is that you do. My attitude with this and anything else is you can't really control someone else's opinion. You can do what you do, and that's their right to have that prerogative one way or the other. But you should certainly be aware of that perception. And this brings up One of the things that I don't think is an important issue, but I've seen it enough times and I've heard people vocalize this, that I would be remiss or incomplete in this list of disadvantages if I didn't bring it up, that those who seek external validation for what it is that they do will probably not be happy taking an approach that involves an external career. They want to be able to say that they are X, whatever that thing is, and they don't believe that they're able to do that no matter how high the quality of what they're doing or how much of it that they're doing, unless someone is paying them to do it and they have the business card like their brother, the accountant. They want to shut up mom and dad who've been asking them to get a real job. And, that is something that, again, you'll know if you fall into that category or not. But those are just a handful of things. I think it's a very fascinating situation. As someone that lives in Los Angeles, I have seen a number of people that have been involved in professional fields outside the field that they are known for artistically. I have seen a well-known actor who was a friend of mine go into financial services in his late 50s as something different to do, but also for the economic aspect as well, despite having had success in his field and an IMDb page that's many listings long. And that's just one of many examples. So it certainly is doable. Whether that fits for you is going to depend on time management skills and preference, and what it is that you have an interest in doing. If it's all or nothing on the artistic pursuit, then of course you have to do whatever it takes and make a different kind of sacrifice to make that happen. And if that isn't the case, then there's a lot of interesting things in the world, and it doesn't have to be all this one particular thing. And for me, the amount of control over what it is that you wish to do within your own field is even more important than that. So I hope this has brought up some interesting aspects of the Ives approach in general, and my two contrasting conversations with Morton Subotnick and James Tenney nearly 20 years ago. Someone had asked me if I would do it differently, and I think the answer is no. I would not make a different choice. I would go about the different choice in a different way. But that is probably something that could be said of almost anything in life, so it almost isn't worth going into. But let me know your experiences and preferences on this. It should be an interesting topic. Thanks for listening. This has been Jason Thomas. Thanks.